Thank you. So, taka. Hi everybody. I'm Tony, I'm from Finland, presenting company called Collaprime. I would like to share in a 20 minutes with you or a little bit case studies from Finland about technology, money and meaningful meetings. To be honest, the things in construction or any kind of design and engineering visualization hasn't changed till the time of pyramids and Stonehenge too much till the 80s. Everything was been drawn in a 2D. Of course, then we have just the different ways to draw it, but at the end of the day, the whole industry have been relied on the 2D vision of everything. And then we realized that when there was coming a 3D visualization softwares, it was better for the designer by themselves, but it wasn't any answer of collaborative meetings for real project meetings where all the different stakeholders are involved. And that's how we start to develop processes approximately 10 years ago in Finland, that what would be the easiest way to save time and money in design phase in a project. And it was our background. We are software engineers, game engineers and game engine guys, and we was coming from visualization part, so none of us has 10 years ago any construction related background, so it was pretty easy to us start to asking questions like why. We didn't satisfied because we have done this 20 years like this. So, and of course this is not any rainmaker, but I just like to share with you some of the things what we've been figured out in Finland. Just briefly, Finnish-based company, taka. If you want, we have this kind of solution over there like Board mentioned, but the idea of the big room working or collaborative design reviews is pretty simple and it's same every place. You have a complex project, you have architects involved, engineers involved, and for the very high quality project you should discuss with the project owner and the property user as well. It's really odd to say that you can do really high quality any kind of construction project without the users involved somehow. Because those are, of course, the apartment building is a bit different, but now if we are talking about public buildings or infrastructure or very complex projects like that, in a real life, only real professionals of those facilities are the users itself. And only party who should be really keen how the life cycle costs are actually the project owners. But it was really difficult for them to participate in these design meetings. I don't know how many of you have been in different type of project meetings where it's usually approximately 20 people around the table. There is a lot of discussion on different design phases, and you know for sure that half of the people don't understand the word what people are talking about, but nobody don't have a courage to raise them hands and ask that what the hell you was just explaining, I didn't understand. Because how can you, if you don't have a, by example, like a piping engineering background, how can you understand anything which is related on that topic? And we see this hundreds and hundreds of times. It was repeating and repeating that people are using 8 hours on a day in the same facility and they are burning more than half of the time because they are not talking about in the level that everybody in the room can understand it. And then it was started actually, we were starting to develop the different type of working methods, and then end result was actually virtual reality based collaboration spaces where all the 3D drawings can be showed in 1-to-1 scale and you can dive in or walk into the design. And what is the difference between these VR headsets and these kind of spaces is that collaboration is pretty much what you are willing to do in the meetings like that. And if you are with the VR headset, you completely lost the connection between the people. And in these kind of spaces, we can go there, we will see together, then we start to discuss about the topic. And it's not more complicated than that. And usually these are for the project ready-made building collaboration spaces, where is of course virtual reality techniques, but then there is different touchscreen systems, sketching, something pretty similar. You have seen these similar type of techniques, most probably without the virtual reality in any construction room. And what we did, we at top of that, the virtual reality spaces. We started in Finland because of the healthcare project. That was the starting point in Finland to develop this. We faced the fact that we need to renovate all the hospital buildings in Finland, all the hospitals, all the healthcare centers, more or less in the next 20 years. And then we realized that the building cost is something, but then the life cycle cost and the operational cost is where all the monies are going. So then we start to develop in Finland that how we can involve the doctors and the nurses as a part of this architectural and engineering design, so the facilities will be really, really functional. And nowadays we have done during last 10 years all the hospital projects in Finland like this. Hundreds of millions of euros has been saved in construction budgets, and billions, and I mean billions of euros recorded in a life cycle savings. One single project in Oulu University Hospital, they was recorded that they saved 150 million euros from construction budget directly, and they could allocate 2.2 billion euros of life cycle savings because of collaborative design. So let's say so it was word of investment, ROI was pretty nice, and everything else is somewhere between. And because it was so successful in this healthcare project, then it started to spread around. Then nowadays there is a really different type of projects, like schools is quite common. There is teachers and students and their parents are part of these design reviews. Then there is a lot of every kind of like a commercial project, by example shopping malls, because over there the money is a driver. You are willing to develop that project with potential chains which can make a renting contract. The idea is to shorten the time from the ready-made to ready-sold projects. And it's not, like I said, it's not any like rocket science. Everybody is willing to involve of discussion, and everybody has opinion, but they first have to understand what we are talking about. This is how it is in a real life. And then we start to add in the top of these virtual reality spaces similar functionalities that there has been always used in control rooms. So nowadays we can merge the different data layers in the top of this virtual design, like a 3D modeling. And the basic idea why we are doing it is that we can separate the design teams physically. You don't have to have one physical big room or collaboration space, because it's the same thing in Finland and it's in Norway, that you have one team in Oslo, you have a project in upper north, you have probably even architects from outside of the country, and that is really ineffective to get the people fly back and forth. It doesn't make absolutely any sense. And that's why nowadays most of the projects are done in a way that there is one main design phase, which can be in a construction site. Then there is a smaller sub-sites which are located in the main design offices, and then the individual engineers, architects or professionals can participate in the meetings with the VR headsets or their PCs. Quite often it goes in a way that you have 20 people in a room for meeting for 4 to 5 hours. And then you have 5 to 6 professionals, and you need their opinion 10 to 15 minutes in some part of this meeting. And what we are doing today, we invite them all in the room, and they stay there 4 hours to wait that 10-minute speech, and then they go back wherever. It absolutely doesn't make any sense. And another thing what we was recording, that quite often it goes that if you are architect or engineer or designer part, you need the project owner in these meetings because they need to make decisions. It's a budget decisions, like there is always some options, and if they don't fully understand everything that you are talking over there, next time they are not coming anymore. It's like if you are not satisfied in the meeting and you don't see any point to go there, you don't come there. But they must come there, otherwise the project is lacking of decision making, and that is stretching the time frame of the project, and that is usually costing a lot of money. And this is so ridiculous because all of our projects are usually following this same principle. And I checked, it was mainly for infrastructural projects what we were studying, but it was really odd that 89% globally of the mega projects will go over the time and over the budget. 89% is going fucked, sorry my language, based on the original plan, and it's completely like, it's nuts. It doesn't make any sense. And then of course it's these design reviews are much interesting in a way that especially for the public building, there is usually, I'm sure it's the same in Norway, but in Finland it's written in the law that if you have a public building project, you have to somehow present that to the citizens as well. And nowadays it used to made in some kind of city hall auditorium, really boring meetings, a lot of drawings and stuff like that. But when they start to do it in the virtual reality premises, people was coming because they was really understanding what was talked about, and then they had a lot of really nice micro innovations we start to collect. Because of course people are smart if they just have a forum to really discuss about the things. And this is the same in facility users. It's not only the citizens, but by example in these hospital projects, every project did hundreds of micro innovations, and it could be really narrow stuff, but all of these micro innovations, every of them save a little bit time and money and make the employees a little bit happier. But when you have hundreds or thousands of these kind of micro innovations, what users are doing, end result will be $2.2 billion euros, like end of the day. And this is by example, this is completely another type of story why big room working is interesting with a certain type of workflows. These gentlemen are engineers from the one really big energy company in Finland, and they like a design director was hiring us out because the reason was that they are super smart engineers, but they haven't collaborated in last 10 years at all. Every of them are in their own rooms and doing their own stuff, and it's really difficult to get them to collaborate anyhow. So then we build up the technology like this, and they start to do the design reviews in a virtual reality. And it was so funny in the first meeting, there was 12 guys, 10, 12 guys, these engineers, there was just like a listening. They looked really bored, and they check out all of the contents, and when there was coming a VR mode, they was going in with the crew, and then they start to kind of like shooting down the errors. I mean, like it was the idea of them was to be unpolite, like that is so shitty design and that ain't gonna ever work. And then the director was coming to say for me, first time in 10 years they are collaborating, they are solving the problems, they are like pointing out why something ain't gonna work, and that's the whole point. It's like that's the whole point, that taking out those parts of the designs which are not functional. And so it doesn't have to be funny all the time. It can be very critical, but whatever is the motivation of doing it, end result will be that the quality of the project is better. And if it's better, it's usually cheaper, at least in the life cycle. And then this is completely different type of case, that is a group of hyper software hipsters. It's a sexiest software company in Finland at the moment, and they was building up the new headquarter, and they start to use a collaboration and BigRoom because they was willing to do the office which is so cool that everybody is willing to work there. And they get the prize, it's coolest office in the Nordics award 2 years ago. And the idea was that it was a BigRoom project where the software engineers was designing the coolest office where they ever want to work in. And that is a kind of issue as well, that it's a really difficult for architect or engineer to try to solve it out when there is a really passionate 400 people with their own opinions. But I have to say that that office is really cool and so art that only themselves they could design it. Nobody didn't, I would say that no, there is no architect in Finland with the courage to go to show them these kind of designs, because it's so not the case in many ways. But that is completely different type of collaboration. Then there is these shopping mall projects. Over here in a BigRoom working is that, by example, in this particular case, the BigRoom was made to collaborate first for the public bodies to even get the license to build it up. So it was virtually designed in a BigRoom and to present it to the public bodies to get the license to build it, because it was really complicated project, and it changed a lot of the view of the city center. And then in the next stage, that was first time in Finland I have seen a BigRoom working like that, that in the next stage they start to invite the potential chains which can sign out the renting contracts. They was involving them. If we do like this, would you rent it? If we do solution like that will help your client flow, will you rent it? And if I remember correctly, it was 70 or something % was re-signed beforehand, and the whole project was finalized and sold out of the property developer before any physical operation done. I mean, like everything was done in a BigRoom working phase. It was really interesting project in that sentence. This BigRoom working environment is from company called Valio. They are building a lot of milk-related products. Probably some of you have heard of Valio, but it's our biggest company in a food supplying chain. And why it was really important for them to using a really like a multi-professional teams in a BigRoom working is that it's fully automized factory. The human beings can't go in there without after that you have to sterilize everything. So you just can't kind of maintain it afterwards. Everything has to be in a way that you have a fully functional factory. You will maintain it maximum 2 times in a year. Otherwise you have to shut down the production because the hygienic reason. And these kind of things are really impossible to just end it up without really tight collaborative design sessions, and it takes a lot of time. I will jump a little bit because of the time. But as a final thing, you can use any type of software background, laser scanning, photogrammetric, drones, 360-degree videos, or you can use sensored data. It doesn't really matter. It's a combination of the like a big room and project control room. But end result was that we test this whole concept, like we put everything in a one project in 2016, and we tested, and it was, as far as we know, it was first project, at least in Finland ever, 0 mistake, over the quality, under the budget, and under the schedule, and it was finalized. And during 2016, it was winning pretty much anything you can win with the public project in the globe. And that was kind of the end result of really ambitious big room working. We have a stand over there. Just come and check it out, and we will explain some more. Thank you, Bert.
Tony, thank you. You will have your cave or stand till Saturday? Yeah. So we have more days to check it out. And we have already some people here wanting to get in touch, so this is this is really useful. Thank you. Vi går videre. Vi har før neste